I've come to a wedding with a difference.
I don't know who's covered more of this stuff, the bride or me.
It's taking place in a refugee camp in Jordan in the Middle East and is home to 80,000 people who have fled the bombs and bullets of Syria's civil war. But what was supposed to be a temporary camp has now become a city the size of Bath, complete with 9 schools, 11 hospitals and clinics, 2 supermarkets, as well as playgrounds and sports centres. And it's all been built in just the last 4 years. And it's nothing like you'd expect.
It's a tough place to be and no one would choose to live here, but as you can see, they're making the most of it because even in the most difficult of circumstances, life has to go on.
Like any other city on earth, Zaatari has births, deaths, marriages, and everything in between. And in this series, I'll be exploring it with A&E Dr. Javid Abdelmonem.
How often are you changing the dressings in a week?
He'll be meeting the children recovering from the injuries of war.
That big wound there is in the vicinity of a nerve.
Journalist Ben Timberlake, a hostile environment expert, will find out how you feed tens of thousands of people who are far from home.
90,000 loaves of bread come out of here in one night. So you've got the most important job in the camp.
Meanwhile, I'll be meeting the army of workers that provide the essentials of food, shelter and water in a desert.
Absolutely amazing. It's got it all up here. Who needs computers?
The Syrian Civil War has led to the biggest humanitarian crisis of our time.
And we'll be getting under the skin of this unique metropolis, a place of huge logistical challenges, incredible human stories.
To discover how the spirit and ingenuity of the people who live here have turned this refugee camp into somewhere they can call home.
Welcome to Zaatari.
4 years ago, there was nothing here except desert. Now Zaatari is home to 80,000 people, one of the biggest cities in all of Jordan. It's in the far north of the country, just a few miles from the Syrian border. It's my first day here, and the obvious place to start is on the high street.
This is not what I was expecting at all. It's my first time in a refugee camp, and maybe this isn't a typical setup.
Over 60% of people here have lived in Zaatari for more than 2 years, which has helped to create a strong sense of identity and community in the camp. From a collection of tents in the desert, Zaatari has grown organically as more and more refugees have arrived. It's now made up of 24,000 homes and covers more than 5 square kilometres. Dominating the camp, there are 2 key roads, Saudi Street and the main drag which the locals have nicknamed the Champs-Élysées.
Just trying to get my head around the scale of it. It's huge. It seems to just go on and on and on, and it's business after business after business.
Since Zaatari was established, almost 3,000 small businesses have sprung up here, as refugees have used whatever money they brought from Syria to set up shop.
Somebody selling spices. Well, that smells amazing. Telephone repair shop, second-hand TVs in the satellite shop, toys, torches, socks, clothes, shoes and boots, bicycles, kettles, nappies. You name it. I mean, this is just, it doesn't feel like I'm in a refugee camp at all.
Zaatari is run and paid for by the Jordanian government and the UN's Refugee Agency, along with over 30 different charities, at a cost of £10 million a month. But it's the refugees that have given the camp its character, as they've tried to replicate life back in Syria.
Oh, wow. This is quite interesting. Now, I was not expecting to see ball gowns. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
When do Syrian women wear these dresses?
ساطينها إلى الأعراس من زمان بنلبسها بسوريا من أيام سوريا بنلبسها.
Wow. I had no idea that this is what women wore on their wedding. They're very glamorous, they're very revealing.
الحياة بدها تمشي فاحنا ضمننا مستمرين على نفس التقاليد والتعويدات اللي احنا بسوريا رجعنا بنيناها بدينا يعني هون رجعنا الحمد لله رب العالمين. هذا اللون بيطلع حلو عليه بيطلع عليه كثير حلو.
That is incredible. You know, it's silly to think that I was surprised that a wedding dress shop would exist in a refugee camp because, of course, people need to get married. And maybe there'll be a wedding I could gate crash.
There are more than 10 weddings in the camp every single week. Though no one would choose to marry here, just as no one would choose to live here, it's a sign that people are getting on with their lives.
There's a falafel place just on about every corner here. Check out how fast this guy is. How many can you make in a day? How many falafels?
بس يكون في عندنا ضغط شغل بنقلي 7000 واكثر كمان.
7,000 pieces. That's pretty impressive.
It's very hard for refugees to work legally in Jordan, but in the camp the authorities turn a blind eye. Around 60% of the working-age population earn some income, either from a business or by working for one of the charities that operate here. It's enough to give Zaatari a sense of normality until you look a little closer.
It's taken me a while to grasp, actually. In the face of it, this is a completely normal high street. But actually, there isn't a single building that's got a first floor.
It's a clear indication of the fact that Zaatari isn't an ordinary town. And the people here may have escaped war, but they have no citizenship rights in Jordan and aren't allowed to leave the camp without a permit.
I keep having to remind myself that everybody who lives here is here because just 6 miles in that direction, there's a war raging in their country.
After 5 years of this brutal civil war, Syria is in ruins. Civilian areas have borne the brunt of the fighting, with thousands of schools, hospitals and houses turned to rubble. 250,000 people have been killed, and more than 5 million have fled. Of those, 1 million have made the journey to Europe, whilst the majority have stayed in neighbouring countries. Now, thousands of Syrians are trying to build new homes and new lives here in Zaatari.
So when you step off the main road, this is what it's like. It's not tarmacked at all. It's just the raw desert underfoot, very dusty, very sandy. And then there's just rows and rows of these prefabricated caravans that everyone lives in, really. It's all very samey, it's all very monotonous, it's all very basic.
When people first came here in July 2012, they were initially living in tents. But as temperatures range from below freezing to over 40, the tents have been replaced by 24,000 porta cabins. I'm on my way to meet someone who's turned his porta cabin into one of the most distinctive homes in the camp.
What is that? That's the first swing I've seen. Someone's having fun. Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, hello, hello. كيف حالك?
هلا.
Did you build this?
عملته أنا مسميني بسوريا الشون أبو العجايب. الشون هاي كلها أعمال يدوية يعني بالإيد يعني بكسر أعمال شاقة يعني الحجر هذا كنا نكسره هون مطرح الحجر هون هذا هون.
What else have you built? I'm fascinated by your house. Can we have a look inside?
نحط الماء.
He's got yogurt, he's got cheese, and that's butter.
هاي زبدة.
Yeah, and that's because this is really cool.
حطي الكيك أيوة باردة.
So it's like a fridge.
يعني بصير جبوعات.
Yeah.
الصلعة هاي رب العالمين يعني بيقولوا حسب العلماء إنه واحد بيكون يعني الشعر ما فيه هذا بيكون نسبة الذكاء قوي يعني.
If you're bald, you've got brains. So you made a gym. You ready?
As well as being a handyman about the house, back in Syria, Ziad made a living by selling fruit and veg.
Oh, of course you'd have a garden. Ziad, this is incredible.
كويس هذا كله نعناع.
Mint. What was your house in Syria like?
بيتي حلو كثير كان يعني وانا مشتغل بايدي يعني البيت. تدمر البيت ما ضل بيت يعني دمر ما في بيت ولا في شيء.
How does it feel to have had to leave it all behind?
أحيانا حتى بأقلق من النوم يعني بالليل الساعة 3 2 بالليل بفكر وين كنا وصلنا يعني مثل البيت وهذا البيت مسقط راسي يعني خلقت فيه ما بنسى ذكرياته.
So just how bad were things in Syria when you left?
كان معاناة صعبة بشكل واقع حرب قتل ضرب موت يعني حرب طاحشة يعني طلعنا أنا وأولادي والمدام تبعي من تحت الموت يعني.
Like everyone in Zaatari, Ziad has left everything behind. But he's doing all he can to turn this small patch of desert into a new home.
Ziad, what type of tree is this?
هاي ليمونة.
Lemons. We're planting a lemon tree in the desert. Fantastic. It's a bit rocky. To have a herb garden in the desert is not an easy job.
هاي الشجرة بتسميه باسمك الليمونة أنيسة.
You're going to call it Anita? I hope it gives you nice, big, juicy lemons.
كويس.
Well, that was totally unexpected. I'm amazed at Ziad's ingenuity. He's obviously the Mr. Fix-It who can build absolutely anything. Even in a desert, in a refugee camp, humans have the ability to turn a little corner of it into their castle.
But despite Ziad's talents, it's hard to imagine anyone surviving here without the help of the authorities, who provide the building blocks of life in the camp.
There's just so much to get your head around about this place, how it was set up and how it's run. So I'm off to meet the guy who's the top dog here, who is in control of the entire camp.
السلام عليكم كيفك بدنا نشوفكم. This is one of the imams in the camp.
Hovig Etimesian from Lebanon is the UN's manager on site and knows how hard it is to establish a camp like this.
I think every camp has different stages. At its inception, usually it's difficult moments where you have thousands of refugees crossing the border, traumatized, in need of assistance. So at the beginning, it's usually a little bit more chaotic.
Although the camp seems safe and well-organised, Zaatari used to be a very different place. In the early days, crime was rife, and there were a couple of riots every week as residents fought for better conditions. Now, thanks to a local Jordanian police force and the maturing services, the situation has got better.
How much of the way Zaatari has developed and become what it is, how much of that is down to the people themselves, the Syrian people that are here?
I think most of it, the refugees take the credit. Because what happens in camps is that refugees try to replicate a resemblance of what is a normal life back home in a camp setup. It is also not a secret that we have a highly skilled Syrian population. We have the doctors and the engineers and the teachers and the carpenters and the welders, and all of them are trying to make the best out of a situation.
What does Zaatari say about the Syrian people?
Life in a camp is a very difficult life. It's a life of also dependency. But the Syrians are not waiting for a handout. They are pushing the boundaries. They're, trying to, within the realm of possibilities, have a decent life.
You can see that. That's all around us.
With 80,000 people living here, Zaatari is now full. But a few refugees every month still move into the camp because they have a medical need to be here. As a doctor himself, Javid Abdelmonem is heading to one of the camp's hospitals to find out what they have to deal with.
Which patients do you envisage coming in this ward?
We'll put a patient with a spinal cord injury here and another one next to him.
There are 11 hospitals and medical centres in Zaatari. They all treat the usual health issues that you'd find in any city of this size anywhere in the world. Except this one. It's run by the medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières and looks after patients recovering from injuries of war.
So they're all trauma victims?
Yes, they are all blast injury. Recently, we are receiving more spinal cord injury than before. So they come with paraplegia, hemiplegia, sometimes quadriplegia.
Gosh.
We received patients who couldn't move anything but their face. It's really difficult. They are young people.
There's a lot of input.
1/3 of the hospitals in Syria have been destroyed, and half the country's doctors have fled. So many injured Syrians end up leaving their homeland for treatment.
Every week we receive 5 to 6 patients.
Right.
Today we are receiving 7. When they come, they are weak, they are hungry, they are cold. So we have everything ready for them. We welcome them and give them what they need.
There are 40 beds in the hospital looked after by 10 foreign and Jordanian doctors. They oversee the rehabilitation of patients here, but major surgery takes place at hospitals elsewhere in Jordan.
So I've just been given a list of the admissions this afternoon, 7 patients. The first 2 are related. It's an aunt and niece. The niece is only 10 months old. Her mother died in the very same explosion. The next 3 are 22, 21 and 20-year-olds, all with spinal cord injuries. And the last 2 are orthopedic, one with a thigh bone fracture, but also a head injury and a left arm broken. And the other is a right above knee amputation. So a whole list of blast injuries.
Patients arriving here come from other hospitals closer to the front line. They've already had the emergency treatment that in many cases will have saved their lives. But many more operations could lie ahead.
It's complicated surgery, you know, infections deep in bones, metalwork inside and out, nerve damage, vessel damage, skin grafting. It's really high-end surgery. It's not simple stuff. Even in Britain, this would be, this would be tough.
Tomorrow, I'm going to meet some of the patients to find out exactly what they need.
Most refugees arrived into the camp with hardly any possessions or money. That means the vast majority rely on food aid. And feeding tens of thousands of people is an enormous challenge.
Hey. Do I need to get all the outfit on as well?
Ben Timberlake has come to a bakery in the camp, run by the World Food Programme.
I feel like I'm scrubbing up for an operation rather than making some bread.
Head baker Nibal Sawala, a baker from Syria who's worked here for 3 years, is going to show me around.
It's absolutely huge in here and dusty and incredibly hot as well.
الجو يعني حامي لأنه البارد لازم يكون الفرن مضغوط.
So these bags of flour, how many of those do you get through every night?
95 ل 100 شوال.
Wow. And how many pieces of bread does that make?
هذا الرقم 90,900 خبزة.
90,000 loaves of bread come out of here in one night. So you've got the most important job in the camp.
صح هو هذا أهم شيء يعني ما في شيء.
Bread is a staple of Syrian life. So important that the bakery opened just a few months after people first arrived here.
What do I do? I don't have a clue what I'm doing, but this is like welcome to the great Syrian bake-off. What is this?
بدل العجين هاي خميرة مشان العجين يخمر.
Okay.
مش العجين. فرطها فرطها وزتها كمان.
After being mixed, the dough is ready to be shaped into loaves.
هو شيلها مقطعة جاهزة فورا شيلها. أيوة بس.
The weight of each loaf has to be precisely 65 grams.
هاي 70. لسه هون. هاي 70. تطلع معنا 70 وحدة بنخفف واحدة من هاي.
Oh, so you adjust that one. Now, shall I check? Bingo. So all of those little tiny balls of dough are now being squished into something which is much more recognizable as Middle Eastern bread.
Despite the effort that goes into getting every piece of bread just right,
أكرم. علقت.
it doesn't always go according to plan.
هسه بنروح على مرحلة بيت النار هناك عندك بيجي.
Okay, cool. This is the final bit. They're going into the oven right now and being baked.
بده يضل طول الليل هيك بضلوا هيك.
How long do they spend in the oven then?
ما في بقعدوا أقل من ثواني. ما في 5 ثواني يعني تقريبا.
5 seconds. That's nothing. It's like the magic of finding out where little baby pita breads come from. How many does every person in the camp get? How many pieces of bread?
كل شخص 4 رغف بلحقوا بس.
Are they good to eat now?
كيف تاكل عادي نظام. خبز تاكل.
It's actually very, very good.
Once the bread is cooled, it's packed up.
So the room that was empty about 10 minutes ago is suddenly starting to fill up with these crates of bread.
All of the people working in the bakery are refugees who live in the camp and earn a small wage for their efforts.
After a long night's work here, do you go home and eat more bread, or are you completely sick of the sight of it?
هون كشباب يعني أسرات من ريحة الخبز هنا ما حدا بيقدر ياكل يعني. بروحوا على الدار ما حدا بياكل أصلاً. لحتى يفيق من النوم تفكر إنه ياكل من ريحة الخبز.
The workers continue through the night. And at 6 a.m, the bread is ready to be distributed around the camp.
It smells so good in here. Freshly baked bread, and it's really warm.
The final job of the shift is to load the bread onto the trucks.
All right, here we go. Last one. And we're done. Now, this truck's going to go to one of 4 distribution points where the residents of the camp will turn up with their vouchers to receive their 4 loaves of bread. I better get going. And now you can see that the camp is coming to life. Little girls with their rucksacks on going to school. Oh, these women have got their bread, carrying it on their heads.
Seeing all these people ready to collect their free bread is a reminder just how reliant people are on aid.
So this is the distribution point. You've got men on one side, women on the other. Assalamu alaikum.
Run by the World Food Programme, refugees have to bring their ration cards showing how many people are in their family and therefore how much bread they're entitled to.
How many families are you collecting for? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 families. Are you going to carry all this bread home? So this young man, he's got 6. So that's 24. So that'll be one of these because it's got 18 and an extra 6. There you go. He's very chatty. Are you all right?
No.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes,
What do you want?
1 kilo.
He's obviously got a problem with my service here. Things are starting to quiet down, but they're not going to stop for another hour and a half. They've been at it from 7 till 10 in the morning, and they won't finish until all the bread's gone.
Altogether, more than 300,000 loaves are given out in Zaatari every single day. But people can't survive on bread alone. Residents are free to buy whatever they want in the various shops on the high street if they've got the money. But I'm heading to one of the 2 supermarkets in Zaatari to see what other support people here receive.
When the camp first opened, people were given a food ration box with the basics: salt, sugar, rice, pasta, lentils. But as it became obvious they were going to be staying here longer than they thought, to allow people to feel more normal and to give them some choice, they decided to change the system, and now each person in a family is given a £20 food allowance. So a family of 5 gets £100 per month to spend at 2 supermarkets in the camp. One of them is Safeway. Oh, wow. It's a proper supermarket. You sort of presume that, you know, in a refugee camp, things would be quite basic, but you've got vegetables, fresh fruit, dates, olive oil. And it says here, made in Jordan.
With much of the produce homegrown in this country, the supermarket is one of the ways in which the Jordanian economy benefits from the arrival of refugees.
It's just like any supermarket in the world where they even try and push products on you by samples. What are we sampling here? What is it? What am I about to eat? Chicken luncheon. Oh, gosh. Is it good? Let's try it. I have to smell it. It's like spam. The prices are a little bit expensive. Things in here are not as cheap as you think. Just under £3 for all those eggs. So your £20 per person isn't going to go that far.
Everyone in the camp gets that £20 per month from the authorities, whether they're a baby or an adult. It isn't a lot of money, but crucially, it allows people here to take control of their own spending, rather than relying on ration packs and food handouts.
I'm back at the hospital run by Médecins Sans Frontières to meet some of Zaatari's newest arrivals.
Good morning. Shall we start with the little boy?
Yeah. I'm just going to join the whole team for the morning ward round.
9 years old. The patient was injured in Syria, and that caused the left eye loss. The plan is hitting the prosthetic eye.
While he waits for a prosthetic eye, Mohammed is living in the hospital, with his father sleeping in the bed next to his.
هاي بلدنا.
اسمه شنو البلد؟
جاسم.
جاسم.
دراع جاسم.
دراع جاسم.
مين ها؟
هو مش؟
لا أخوه التوأم.
لا أخي. Identical, ها؟
هذا صعب معه بس إصابته كانت خفيفة.
Do you remember that day, Mohammed?
اي كنا نلعب فجرة القنبلة.
إصابته جات بالعين شظية. العين كانت طالعة لبرا. في دكتورة أجنبية طبعاً قالت لي إنه العين خالصة لأنه فايتة شظايا.
In some respects, Mohammed is one of the lucky ones. More than 15,000 children have so far been killed during the conflict. In the ward is another boy, also called Mohammed, also permanently affected by the war.
His current problem is his tib-fib fracture.
Mohammed's leg was severely wounded when he was hit by shrapnel 8 months ago.
It's open fracture, soft tissue defect.
So it's open as well?
Yes.
Soft tissue defect, so a really awful injury. So doing the best to save the leg at all costs rather than amputate.
Yes.
How he sustained the injury initially? It was a blast? Okay. When you're out and about inside Zaatari camp itself, life feels calm, it feels safe, people are getting on with things, and it's easy to forget, therefore, that there's a war going on just a few miles away. But in here in the rehab hospital, you meet people who have lost limbs, people who are really being affected by that violence, victims of war. It brings it home.
نفس كمان نفس.
Mohammed's bones still haven't healed, and he needs regular, painful changes of the cast on his leg to prevent the open wound becoming infected.
يلا خذ نفس عميق شوي. نفس عميق.
Akram, how often are you changing the dressings in a week?
Yeah, Mohammed, you change the dressing twice weekly. أجد.
He's cleaning in there, he feels electric nerve pain coming down here. And that big wound there is in the vicinity of a nerve that wraps around your knee. He's lost that nerve, he can't lift up his foot anymore. That's something that cannot recover, so he's permanently paralysed in the sense that he can't lift his foot up.
هسه بنشيل كل شيء من تحت ونلفه كامل. ماشي؟
The dressing change is a two-man job, and Mohammed's father, who lives in the hospital with him, often helps.
وين ألم؟
He feels that the bone moves, and that's what's painful when the whole leg was lifted without the support of the plaster of Paris. So the bones aren't likely to heal now unless he has a bone graft. So the plaster there now is really just to stop the bone ends rubbing and causing him pain. It's as raw as having two broken bones rubbing against each other.
Mohammed will have to wait until the risk of infection in his leg is clear before he can potentially have a bone graft to heal the break.
It still gets me to see this many of this type of injury in one place. Everybody here has this type of blast of injury caused by violence. Look how many patients are in wheelchairs. That's not normal. So that's when it hits me, you know, that it's something big going on, something quite extraordinary.
Every one of the 80,000 people in Zaatari has a story about the war. The home they've given up, the friends or family they might have lost, the future that was taken from them. But people here are also trying to build a new future.
In Indian culture, they say the darker the henna, the more your mother-in-law loves you. She's got it on her nose. Hang on. We need a tissue. She can't be having henna on her nose on her wedding day.
I've met up with 18-year-old Muntaha as she prepares to get married to someone she's met in the camp.
Tell me about your husband-to-be. Tell me what you know about him.
تعرفنا على بعض يعني اجت بعت لي جماعة يعني انه بجوز خالتي مشان يقول لي جيت اني وافقت شفته وشافني فصارت يعني تقليدي مو عن حب.
Have you spoken to him? Have you had a conversation? Like, what did you like about him?
الصراحة يعني ما لقيتش شيء أقلق منه يعني لحد الآن وشخصيته عادية يعني حبيت فيها كثير شغلات بس ما بتنقي.
Like most of the people in the camp, Muntaha is from a very conservative part of Syria, where arranged marriages are common.
حلمي إني أخذ إنسان عن حب يعني عن جد أحبه وأخذه وهيك بس سبحان الله ما في نصيب يعني لو كان عن حب أكيد راح يكون شعور غير يعني في أحيانا بصير كثير زواج تقليدي بس بيكونوا الاثنين كثير مبسوطين وبعيشوا حياة مبسوطة أكثر من اللي بأخذوا عن حب يعني في كثير أشخاص بأخذوا عن حب بس ما بنبسطوا.
Do you think if you were still in Syria you'd be getting married now at 18?
لا صراحة أنا بسوريا يعني كنت هسه يعني إني قريب أكمل تعليمي يعني كنت هسه يعني جامعة سنة أولى يعني كانت حياتي أكيد راح تكون حياة غير هالحياة يعني راح تكون إنه الإنسان عم يسعى ورا حلمه عم بشوفه عم يتحقق قدام.
What did you want to do? What was your dream?
كان حلمي إني أقرأ طب أصير دكتورة يعني صراحة يعني لما إجينا لهون يعني التعليم صراحة هون مش زيادة فاندفع الطب كثير بنات تتخلى عن أحلامها وتتجوز يعني.
Muntaha's wedding is in a few days' time. Javid is off to meet her husband-to-be, 20-year-old hairdresser Musa.
Wow, what's this room?
مرتب البيت ما؟ هاي غرفتي إلي. أنا تصميمي هذا.
Cool.
أنا عملتها غرفة إلي وللعروس مشان تصير غرفة لنا لحالنا. وفصلت هنا غزانة. هون المراية والمكياجات. غزانة للأواعي، أواعي العروس أواعي. وهون هدول جونا هدايا الكاسات والهاي. وأنا جبت هذول مشان الزينة. وجتنا حرامات كمان من أهل العريس وأهل العروس. جابوا أهلي وأهلها. وهونيك مكان هون على ليك.
Come and look in here. They've got as far as getting face creams and perfumes, some jewellery, hairbrush, every last detail. It's really cool. Tell me about your bride though. Where did you meet?
العروس والله كانت ببيتها بيت أهلها وأنا بتعرف شغلتي حلاق. تعرفت عليها إنه كانت جايبت لي القهوة تعرفت عليها وهي جاي شفتها عجبتني البنت إنه يشوفونا يردوا لنا خبر إنه مثلا عندهم عرايس مثلا وقالوا لنا إن شاء الله بكرة الصبح برد لكم خبر كمان مشان تيجوا تقروا الفاتحة وصار اللي فيه النصيب.
The cost of keeping this camp running is huge, at around £320,000 every single day. I'm heading to the outskirts of the camp to see how one of the biggest challenges is dealt with, getting water in a desert.
Originally, water was being trucked into Zaatari at great expense, and when it became obvious that people were going to be here for quite some time, they had to come up with another solution. This is it. So they dug 3 boreholes within the camp, and this is one of them that's tapping into a water table 450 metres deep. There we go. There we go. That is water coming straight out of the earth, and it's warm because it's coming from so deep down.
The water is filtered and chlorinated so that it meets the standards of tap water across Jordan. With no mains delivery system in the camp, it has to be trucked to individual tanks that directly feed the porter cabins. But first, every truckload has to undergo some rigorous testing.
He's the most hydrated man on camp. And now this is the chlorine test. So they put a little tablet in, and then he'll look at his chart along the side to see whether it falls within the right numbers. What do you think?
This is good.
Yeah.
Then it's just a matter of getting the purified water to Zaatari's residence.
Assalamu alaikum. OK, water's going to get delivered. Another truck coming back to base camp to fill up with more water. There's 55 of these trucks, and each of them does about 4 trips a day. I mean, just running these trucks is about £1 million a year. It's dawning on me the importance and the difficulty of getting water to Zaatari. I mean, look around, it's just deserts.
Every individual gets 35 litres of water a day. It may sound like a lot, but that's for drinking, cooking, cleaning, washing, flushing the toilet, everything. In the UK, we each use 5 times that. When the truck arrives at its destination, it's met by a team of local Syrian residents whose job it is to allocate the water in their area.
Here we go. No messing about, the pipe's already in.
It's up to the local water team to know who needs water when.
Where is this water going? Who is this for?
شي 3 عيال 22 نفر.
But how do you know that? What, have you memorised them all? What about this one then?
هذا 4 أنفار. هذا 5. هذا 7.
Absolutely amazing. How do you remember it?
في خبرة بالموضوع.
How long have you been doing the job?
2 شهر.
2 months? Is that all? It's brilliant. It's got it all up here. Who needs computers? It's done. 22,000 litres of water gone like that.
The water system may be effective, but it's financially unsustainable. So there's a new plan in the pipeline, and stage 1 has just been completed.
Wow. Wow, that's quite some view. It's amazing. This is the highest point in Zaatari. I'm standing on one of 3 reservoirs that have been built to service the whole of this camp. It's enormous, and it has to be because this will hold 1,500 cubic metres of water that will be coming directly from the borehole, and this will provide 30,000 people in this area with water. In about a year's time, every single household in Zaatari will have mains-connected running water.
I've come back to the MSF hospital. I want to catch up with Mohammed and his father Abu Abdullah to find out more about how he was injured.
How's your leg?
الحمد لله تمام أحسن.
Yes. The day of the injury, Mohammed, can you remember what happened?
كنا طالعين بسيارة وفجأة جت طيارة وقصفت ما حد. أنا تصابت برجلي. أخوي انقطعت إيده وتصاب بطنه شظايا وبظهره فخذه. أمي توفت.
الله يرحمه. الله يرحمه. Okay. Abu Abdullah, were you with them in the car that day?
أنا ما كنت مع العائلة ما كنت مع العائلة. وصلونا الخبر عن طريق الاتصالات، طبعا أخذوهن بسيارة على المشفى، عائلتي توفت هناك بالمشفى.
To add to the physical and emotional trauma that Mohammed has suffered, he's now spent 8 months living in hospital, unable to go to school and live like a normal child. But hopefully that could be about to change.
الدكاترة والمعالجين الطبيين هسه عم يقرروا إني أقدر أرجع على المدرسة ولا لا. بس أنا متحمس القرار إني أرجع. نشوف القرار.
إن شاء الله. You're looking forward to making friends?
إن شاء الله.
The good student, Abu Abdullah?
زين من الأوائل كان يحطوا مشرف الصف.
And what was your best subject?
كل المواد.
I really hope you get to go to school. And will you let me come to school with you on your first day if you get to go?
بيجي. عادي.
Mohammed will find out tomorrow whether the medical team feel that his leg has healed enough for him to go back to school.
Over half of the population in the camp are under 18, and the 9 schools that cater for them split their days, with girls studying in the morning and boys in the afternoon. But not all the kids in the camp go to school. Ben is off to meet 2 of the estimated 3,000 children who have jobs here in Zaatari.
Salam.
Hello. I'm Hafid.
Mohammed, all right, good stuff.
Mohammed and Hafid work in a bike shop owned by Mohammed's father. Mohammed only works in the mornings before going to school, but Hafid spends the day here.
طبعا راح نكون فريق ان شاء الله ضابط نظلنا مع بعض ويوم مثلا واحد يشتغل بده معاونة بيجي الثاني بيساعد نساعد بعض بكل الأحيان.
How old are you guys?
أنا عمري 15 14 ونص.
You're not. You're a tiny bit younger than that, surely.
جيلنا هذا هيس طلع.
Hey?
هيك الله خالق جيلنا هذا.
That's an amazing answer.
Yes.
You're very lucky then.
أيوة ما تخليك.
Most of the bikes in the camp were donated by the Netherlands. Just like everything else here, they're a tradable commodity, and a good-looking bike is quite the status symbol.
So guys, this looks like a pretty amazing bike to me.
Yes.
Yeah? Also got this is properly pimped here. And it's got diodes on the back. Okay, let's see this again. Yeah. And you see, look, there's a little light just under here. You've got one of the best looking bikes in camp. But you've also got the leather jacket, you've got the cigarette. Is that all part of the look? And why do you bring your bike here?
ايه والله هون احسن خدمه والله ورخيص وعند ابو محمد والله الطيب اشتريناه من عند البسكليت وظبطناها يعني واشتريناه وصار نشيط.
It's midday and the afternoon school shift is about to begin, so Hafid and I are walking Mohammed to class.
So guys, how much do you earn a month at the moment?
يعني بدك تقول بال50 55.
That's about £50. And how much of that do you give back to your family?
لا مو كلها يعني باخذ نسبة الأرباح.
And what do you guys want to do when you grow up? What are your plans for later?
نفتح محل أنا وحافظ نصير شركاء فيه نفس المحل لأنه إحنا بنضلنا مع بعض وبنحب بعض.
With money tight, many children have to bring cash into the family home, and a third don't go to school at all.
When was the last time that you actually went to school?
من قبل سنة. ما بعرف ما بعرف يعني شو بدي أرجع يعني متلبك بجوز يرجع بجوز لا. بعرف بقدر يشرح عني لأنه بنعرف بعض نحكي لبعض دائما إحنا يعني وياه.
So is it better for you and your family for you to keep working?
أحسن لعائلتي وأحسن إلي بس للمستقبل لا.
Have a good day at school. Yep.
It isn't just Hafeth's future at stake. With 4,000 schools back in Syria destroyed, millions of Syrian children are no longer studying.
It's the day before the wedding. Musa the groom is on his way to do what most Syrian men do just before their big day. He's heading to the barber's to spruce himself up, and he's taking Javid and all his mates along.
Yeah, it's a bit like a stag event, isn't it? When you watch them bundling him down the road like that. But it's really nice. Musa, what are you having done today?
والله بدي أحلق مشان لأنه عندي اليوم حفلة بعد صلاة المغرب بدي أحلق وأظبط حالي وأظبط الدقن كيف وبدي أقص شعراتي أخفف منهم شوي وأعمل تنظيف بشرة للوجه.
Just like a stag back in the UK, part of the fun is in stitching up the groom. And over here, it's all about hitting him.
Why so keen to hit him? ما عاد نشوفه أول شيء فهاي من شان يتذكرنا كل ما يتوجع هون والله ضربوني الشباب.
But you guys who aren't married, you see, you have to be careful. If you stitch him up too much, when it's your turn, he's going to get you back.
أنا مانيش متجوز قدام حدا راح أعمل عرسي على المخبى بالسر يعني والله يا شباب تجوزت والله من شي يومين هيك زواج
سلمنا عليها والله أنا عم بقول لك حلاق يضل يحلق لليل بعد أروح
مستنينك
While the boys banter, further down the Champs-Élysées, it's time for the bride to get a dress.
Anything that you see that you like? This one. It's a nice one. She's gone for classic white. I quite like the pink myself, but it's not about me. It's not about me.
Muntaha is with her mother and soon-to-be mother-in-law.
And so now you've got a new daughter. Well, she's very beautiful.
أهلا وسهلا بيها. هاي بنت إلي. كأنها بنتي وأعز من بنتي.
The tradition in Syria is that the groom's family pay for the wedding, including the bride's dress.
How much of a say are they going to have in the choice?
أنا اللي بقتنع فيه
حسب ما تختار هي وحسب ما تقتنع هي وحسب رغبتها. ما نقنعها بأي شيء ما بدها هي نهائياً.
Muntaha will be hiring 2 wedding dresses, a classic white dress for her wedding day and a colourful one for her henna party, a women's-only celebration that happens the night before a wedding.
Come on, show us. She's nervous, she's so nervous, bless her. Come on out, my love. Come and show us. How do you feel? How do you feel? Oh yeah, wake it up. Very important question here, Muntaha. Is there any dancing at the wedding? Can you move in it? Because, yeah, she's moving in it. She's you've got to be able to, if you can dance in the dress, we're good to go. Yeah? Yeah. Is it taking you back to your wedding day?
تختلف الأعراس يعني بسوريا أحسن من هون الأعراس. يعني هاي سنة الحياة.
But would you have met each other if you were living in Syria?
لا سوريا لا ولا بعرف قريتهم وين بتصير ما بعرف قسمة هون
Come on out. Come on out. I think it's gorgeous. How do you feel?
عادي.
Is this the one, do you think?
Yes.
Back at the barber's, Musa is getting some serious pampering before his beating begins.
Look at the hands being warmed up here. Look at this. Uh-oh. Gently, gently. Do it gently, huh? Is it my turn? أقول لك نايما يا موسى.
يلا هاي نعيما مش انتم مخباطه ايديكم بيتكم
You
الله يقعد عندكم
يعني ولا شيء قدام هذول الشباب.
The real party starts outside the groom's house, where Musa will be making the most of his final night as a single man.
It's the day of the wedding. But before we go, Javid is joining Mohammed, who's also got a big day ahead of him.
How are you doing? Good? All right then.
Having lived in hospital for the past 8 months, Mohammed's finally getting back out into the wider world. He's going to return to school.
He's definitely got some speed on, so he's definitely keen to get to school right now. Hurts his leg a little bit, this rough road. So he's just asking his dad to slow down a bit. Look how big the school is. Huh? Told Jack? It's really tricky. Not easy at all. Well, he is excited. He's looking around a lot, but the ground here is really difficult for a wheelchair, and it's hurting his leg.
Having missed months of school, Mohammed will need some help to catch up.
تحب تحكي لهم عن حالك دقيقة؟ احكي لهم اسمك، ايش كنت هناك؟ أي صف خامس؟ اوكي محمد
تساعدوها
الله
ولا يهمك قلت له ولا يهمك يا محمد راح نهتم فيه
شكرا اوكي مين بده يساعده؟ أنا تمام كلكم بدكم تساعدوه؟ مين بتحبوا تعرفوه على نفسكم؟ كل واحد يحكي اسمه على السريع على السريع يلا انت
عبد الله حسين عمر محمد ويا دورس حسن
كم في محمد عنا يرفع ايده محمد
كم محمد
فريق كرة قدم لاحظين انه في 7 محمدات عنا يعني فريق كرة قدم كأنه ساعد محمد على فكرة محمد يعني اشطر طالب كان بالصف ديروا بالكم يعني ممكن يجيب الاول
Did you like the look of the class, Mohammed?
أتوقع إن شاء الله.
You think you'll make some friends there?
أنا متحمس كثير أروح الصف مشان أعمل عصابة.
While Javid and I get ready for the celebration, Ben is off to deal with some last-minute wedding practicalities.
Weddings here are all about food, and I've heard that this shop is the place to go.
Abdul Hariri works in a family-run bakery on the Champs-Élysées.
This looks incredible. Are you very busy at the moment?
عندنا فرح وعم بسوس فيها لعرس.
Do you need any help?
أهلا وسهلا شرفنا.
And what's the biggest order you've ever done?
أكبر طلبية يعني 6000 حبة.
So 3,000. How much does that cost?
شي 375 دينار.
That's almost £400.
عندنا إشهار النكاح إجباري بواحد بده يجمع أقاربه وكذا ويعمل وليمة عليه حتى يمشي الحال.
How many people would you invite to the average wedding here?
يعني حد 200 شخص 250 يعني ما في عدد. بسوريا مثلا بتحضر البلد كاملة على فرح 4000 نسمة 5000 نسمة أحيانا.
The dough is stuffed with a spiced mince to make little pasties, and then they're ready for the oven.
Very good. أسبوع زمان يكون يتعلم المصنع مضبوط.
It's incredibly hot. What's the best way of doing it then?
طريقة العمل.
Like so, yeah? And then straight out.
Very good.
Yeah? I can't believe that worked. It's very satisfying work, isn't it?
أكيد إنه واحد بيستمتع يعني بالعمل منه بضيع وقت من الجو ومن الضغط اللي عليه ومن التفكير وكذا بضيع بالسلة يعني.
Abdul has lost 5 relatives during the war. But this bakery helps to support 50 members of the extended family who are now living in the camp.
Do you think you can taste the difference between the ones I made and the ones you made?
لا نفس الشيء. نفس الشيء ما يغير طعم ما يغير طعم.
They're incredibly light. They're very fluffy, lots of spice, lots of flavour. Are you happy?
شيء أكيد. يعني بكون مبسوط إذا أهل الفرح هم قالوا إنه كويسان. إذا أنت شد فينا كويسات معناته كويسات.
Oh.
Finally, the big moment has arrived.
There's no mistaking where the wedding is there?
Absolutely not. Do you think they've stopped since last night?
I don't think so.
We've come to Musa's house, where he's still celebrating with just the guys.
The groom's still on the shoulders.
A massive 2-day-long celebration, a wedding in the camp, is one of the few times that people here can really let themselves go. Of course, there's no alcohol, but there is plenty of spray foam.
What a way to have a wedding.
First, the bride and groom will celebrate separately during the wedding, until the key moment when Musa goes to collect his bride and they officially become husband and wife. As long as he doesn't forget.
بدكم تروحوا تجيبوا العروس شو عشان زلمه يلا روحوا قدام النسوان روح ما بعرف ايش روحوا قدامنا وراكم النسوان
Is this the time? Are you going to go and get your bride? Really? How are you feeling?
متحمس.
Yeah?
It's basically like an Indian wedding. No one knows what the heck is going on. Well, so he's off. He's travelling in style.
It's a short walk to the bride's house, and Musa's mates seem to be in charge of the chanting. Musa heads into Muntaha's house to collect her, and then take her back to his house.
Who are dressed like mini brides. It's amazing. They look like Disney characters.
As Musa ushers Muntaha into their new home, they're officially married.
I don't know who's covered more of this stuff, the bride or me. I think everyone's got the same idea. They want to come in and congratulate the newlyweds. Amazing. She's here. Muntaha, congratulations. How many hours were you doing hair and makeup? 3 hours in hair and makeup. I just want to wish you all the happiness for the rest of your life. There is so much happiness in this room. The marriage is done. Samira's got a daughter-in-law. She's overwhelmed.
Although life here is far from perfect, and everyone would rather be in Syria, that hasn't stopped people making the most of it.
This is what it's about, you know, their tradition, their culture, it's just continuing because that's what you will do. Even in a refugee camp, you can still bring joy to two families. What better way of doing that than having a wedding? That was amazing.
Today, I've been invited to witness something very special.
She's okay. Oh, amazing. Yes, well done. Oh my goodness me. This little baby is the newest person to be born in Zaatari, which is a camp in Jordan for Syrian refugees fleeing the war. And in just 4 years, it's ballooned to a population of 80,000 people, plus this one. Gosh, it just goes to show that even in the most difficult circumstances, I'm shaking. People don't just get on with life. Life can thrive. Bushra, you're incredible. Congratulations.
And as a new generation is born here, Zaatari itself is developing at a remarkable speed. 4 years ago, all this was dusty desert. Today, it's a city the size of Bath, with 24,000 homes and 3,000 businesses across 5.2 square kilometres. But with no signs the crisis in Syria is coming to an end, Zaatari must continue to evolve for the sake of its residents. This time, we'll be looking towards the future and life beyond camp. Hostile environment expert Ben Timberlake will be finding out how Zaatari's young people are being given support as they face an uncertain future.
الهدف من عملية التدريب اللي أطلعه من أجواء اللجوء أحسن يفكر بإشي فيجلب له السعادة. أنت كويس؟
A&E Dr. Javid Abdelmonem will be with the families desperate to leave to start a new life abroad. And I'll be meeting the newest residents who'll grow up in a refugee camp far from home. The Syrian war has led to the biggest humanitarian crisis of our time. Together, we're going to discover how these refugees are transforming this place to become a city that's ready for the future.
Welcome to Zaatari.
When people first arrived in this refugee camp, they thought they'd be back home in Syria within months.
This was supposed to be a temporary shelter, but it's fast becoming a permanent home for the refugees as war in Syria rages on.
Zaatari camp is in the north of Jordan, just a few miles from the Syrian border. Opened in July 2012 on land donated by the Jordanian military, the camp initially took 9 days to build and is now run and paid for by the UN's Refugee Agency and the Jordanian government, along with over 30 different charities. What started as a handful of tents in the desert is now a metropolis, complete with 9 schools, 11 hospitals and clinics, 2 supermarkets, as well as playgrounds and sports centres, all at a cost of around £10 million a month. And with over half of Zaatari's population under the age of 18, this place has to develop so it can cope with the future demands of this displaced population whose own country remains in crisis. Just a fraction of those affected by this brutal war have ended up in Zaatari. And amongst those making a future for themselves here are people from all walks of life. Ben is meeting up with one of Zaatari's most famous residents, 33-year-old Mohammed Al-Krad.
You don't realise what a celebrity this guy is till you walk down Main Street with him and everyone's coming up to shake his hand or beep the horn and say hi.
Back home in Syria, Mohammed was a well-known wrestler.
أول مشاركة إلي من أول مشاركة بشاركها ببطولات سوريا طلعت الأول على سوريا والحمد لله شاركت بالبطولة العربية اللي صارت بسوريا عام 2002 للناشئين وحصلت على الميدالية الذهبية وتخيل بطل سوريا لمدة 10 سنوات. أنا اللي لابس أحمر يعني أجمل لحظات المصارعة هي بتكون لما إنه يرفع الحكم إيدك أنت اللي أخذت البطولة وربحان البطولة. دمعة النصر غالية كثير يعني إلها طعم جميل.
So back home, you've got a huge collection of trophies and medals.
هاي هي نهايتها بالصورة هاي. هاي من حم القذائف والنار اللي كانت تشتعل من خلال لما تيجي القذيفة في البيت فبتنصهر يعني بتاخذ شكل منصهر الميدالية. يعني قدرت أحصل على بقايا من الميداليات وليس الميداليات.
I'm sorry.
Mohammed may have left his medals behind in Syria, but he's putting his skills and experience to good use
bravo.
as head coach of a wrestling school for boys.
خذ مسافة وأنت عم تتمرن.
A popular sport back in Syria, here in Zaatari, it serves a more important purpose for the young people,
خذ مسافة بينك وبين زميلك.
potentially facing a long future here.
Coach Mohammed, I was expecting you to kind of be like a wrestling coach, but this is like being a drill instructor.
وهو الهدف من عملية التدريب مش إني أنا بس أعلمه مصارعة، الهدف من عملية التدريب إني أطلعه من أجواء اللجوء، أصير يفكر بمستقبل أحسن، يفكر بإشي يفرحه، يفكر إشي يجلب له السعادة.
You're not just making good wrestlers, but you're making good young men.
كل اللي كانوا بالمخيم كانوا متعرضين لضغوط نفسية، اللي بيجيك بتلاقيه عنيف كثير وعم بيحاول يخرب أو بيحاول ينزع، يعني في منه بتلاقيه مثلا من الحالة الحرب اللي شافها بسوريا ومن حالات العنف، فبتلاقي عنده عم بيحاول يطلع طاقاته السلبية من خلال العنف اللي هذا. قرد مصارعة. محمود أسرع. برافو.
Over the 2.5 years this project has been running, it's grown from just 13 students to hundreds.
لا تخليها ترجع يلدمك مظبوط.
These kids are brilliant at it.
Yeah.
So agile. Ay, 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 ay. See, this is amazing. This is the first time I've seen a large group of children just being happy. It's not like the sports or wrestling makes your life a whole lot better, but it does have the ability to reduce your life to a level where it starts to make sense. It's a very powerful tool for these kids.
In 2 weeks' time, Coach Mohammed's students will take part in a tournament. It's the culmination of months of hard training, and competition for the top prize will be fierce. "13-year-old Mohammed Lokash is reigning champion and desperate to hold on to his title. He's been in Zaatari for 2 years and left Syria just before his house was hit in an airstrike.
كان أول بطولة كانت سهلة. بثاني بطولة صاروا يشدوا حيلهم. كانوا راح ياخذوا بس أنا أخذت منهم. كانت فنية أخذته كان أفضل لاعب. كنت فخورة كثير.
خسرت يا عماد.
But it looks like Mohammed will have to put in a lot more practice if he's going to put another trophy on his shelf. Mohammed's biggest rival in the competition is Bassam,
فراشة.
who also happens to be his best friend.
لقيت المصارعة غلبت عليها شوي.
The 13-year-old came to Zaatari with his family back in the summer of 2012, not long after it opened.
وهاي مش كثير. يعني ما عليهاش غرابة. ربحت دغري.
Today is just a practice session. But when the boys go head-to-head for real in a few weeks' time, all thoughts of friendship will be put to the side.
Now that the camp has been open for 4 years, the 11 hospitals and clinics need to provide day-to-day medical care for the 80,000 residents. Dr. Javid is coming to one of them in the northwest of the camp to find out what they're dealing with.
بس مويه شفتي مويه مش حتكون مويه بس ايدك بدي اغسلها بالميه بس مويه بس لكن المويه باردة مويه باردة.
This kid's just had a massive chunder. Is that... Where's the second bucket, Mafi? She fell over in the street and cut her wrist on a piece of metal, which is intrinsically a dirty wound, but it'll need stitching because of where it is.
جو غبرة هي الجروح ما نغطيه مشان ما يلتهب يتجفن.
She's been good, isn't she, though? In a child who's going to picket it, play, get around, be dirty, whatever, because of where it is, the best healing will be stitches for this.
Across all the healthcare services in camp, there are 14,000 medical consultations a week.
So a mixture of things then, Mohammed, injuries, but also some primary care that you're doing here.
كل الحالات بتيجي عليه. يعني من حروق، من كسور، من جروح، قولونجات كلوية، من أمراض ثانية.
37-year-old Mohammed worked as a nurse back in Syria and fled to Zaatari 3 years ago.
So what time's your last on call?
يعني حتى اللي ما بيقدر يجي لعندي بس لما اروح على البيت بيجي لعندي على البيت. ممكن الساعة 3 بالليل استقبل، ممكن الساعة 2 ما في وقد ما بنقدر نساعد الناس بنساعدهم. يعني ما بقدر نرد حدا.
Well, you're tireless. I'm in awe.
This hospital is unique in camp because unlike the others that are run by Jordanian and international charities, it was set up and is run exclusively by the Syrians themselves.
Dr. Hussein. Hello.
I'm meeting founder and medical director Dr. Hussein, who worked as a doctor back in his hometown of Jassim in Syria.
Surgery, internal medicine, gastric, cardiology. It's busy, huh?
طبعا زحمة على طول يوميا زحمة.
How many patients do you see each day?
تقريبا نحن بنستقبل بين 500 و 600 مريض يوميا.
Wow, that's a huge number.
طبعا.
Gosh.
عمل ضخم عندنا وزحمة على طول وفي جهد كبير عم نقدمه.
I struggle to imagine what it would have been like here in Zaatari in the early days when you first arrived.
كونه ما كنا نحسن نفصل بين الحياة الخاصة والحياة المهنية. فكان دوامي 24 ساعة. بداية بسيطة كانت. المرضى أو اللاجئين هون بحاجتنا. ضلينا سنة ونص بدون أي دعم. كنا نصرف من جيوبنا.
Presumably you could be better off doing what you do in a private system somewhere?
جاني عرض أكبر من هون بكثير. كل طاقم إجاه عروض لكن ما حدا بيقبل. في التزام. احنا هون الأطباء الموجودين كلها في عندها التزام تجاه أبناء بلدها تجاه شعبها. أهل بلدنا مين بده يساعدهم؟ بس رغم أي مبلغ أي مغريات لا يمكن نترك المركز.
Well, Dr. Hussein, you're a hero, to be honest. As far as I'm concerned, when I look at you doing this work here, it's fantastic. They could easily go elsewhere and earn a very good living, and yet they've chosen to stay here. You know, I've worked a lot in the humanitarian field, and it's easy to volunteer and it's easy to go abroad and work in this context. But you know, you're coming from a comfortable background, and the difference with the staff here is that they were refugees themselves, and yet they've chosen to stay. And that's something I've not come across before, and it really makes me pause for a minute and take stock. I think they're doing something incredible.
Before the war, Syria was a middle-income economy. As Zaatari looks to the future, the challenge for the refugees and the authorities is to try to replicate the same standard of living that people enjoyed back home.
Because if you live somewhere long enough, you're going to want all the things you're used to. Television, washing machine, fridge freezer, mobile phones, and they all require the same thing, electricity.
The camp is connected up to the Jordanian national grid and paid for by the UNHCR at a cost of £4.8 million a year.
Initially, the electricity was pumped in just to light up the main roads, but the desert at night is pitch black. So then they decided to light all the streets. And once that happened, people thought, we'd quite like it in our own homes. So anyone with a bit of initiative took it upon themselves to tap into the source. So the wiring is a little bit haphazard. Good luck to anyone trying to figure out that mess. Where do you even begin?
But there's a team of Jordanian officials whose job involves spotting potential health and safety dangers in camp.
It's a good street, yeah.
And Ben has joined their patrol.
Some of the electricity in the camp seems very, very well organised, and in other places, not so well organised.
كان نزول عشوائي، لاجئين نزلوا فيها عشوائي، ما كان في لا شوارع ولا كان في تنظيم نهائيا. قلت التمديدات العشوائية ممدودة مع الشارع، أيضاً عرضة للأطفال أنهم يلعبوا فيها.
It's an electricity cable with not that much insulation on it. The water supply crosses it, and this area is just right by the water tank here, and so it kind of floods out. There's sharp stones, and there's children playing around here. It's kind of a recipe for disaster. This is the caravan owner right here, so...
خطر على الأولاد الصغار وقريب من المي كمان، يعني عرضة إنه يأتي واحد الخزان منك إنك ترفعه.
أو نرفعه.
دائما ترفعه. الحل الآن.
مباشر دوري.
اسحبه مباشرة.
Did you put this together yourself?
نعم. خبرة فنية ما فيش، بس بشكل عام الكل يعني بيعرف يركب هيك أمور لأنه سهلة ما بدها شيء. ما بدهاش صعوبة لأنه الحامي والبارد مبينات. وأكثر الناس يعني ناخذها بالمدارس، يعني خطوط الكهرباء والشغلات هاي كلها بندرسها دراسة يعني عادي. أمر طبيعي.
I took it at school too, but I still sit there with a plug trying to work out and think and remember exactly which is which. With 300 kilometres of illegal electric wires throughout the camp, trying to officially and safely connect all of these caravans to electricity would take months and cost millions.
من فوق الكرفان على الكرفان اللي فوق هيك بضل أعلى. ما حدا بيش هناك أكبر بيش.
So instead, the team are happy with a quick fix. Nice job, man. This solution might not meet health and safety requirements in the UK, but it has solved the problem.
But safety isn't the only concern for the camp authorities running Zaatari. With everyone drawing electricity from the grid, it became too expensive to run it 24/7. So in order to make Zaatari financially sustainable into the future, the hours of usage have been limited from 4 p.m. to 3 a.m.
But there are plans being drawn up for a giant solar farm to help power the thousands of homes and businesses, which makes perfect sense because they've got the space and the sun.
Funded by the UNHCR, the new solar farm will be up and running by 2017 and is expected to pay for itself within 2 or 3 years. As Zaatari matures as a city, there's a whole generation of teenagers coming of age here. But the vast majority of 16 to 24-year-olds aren't in school, employment or training and face an uncertain future.
Assalamu alaikum, Haldia.
And in a conservative society like this one, it's even harder for young women in camp to fulfill their potential. But one person who has been able to find her voice here in Zaatari is 18-year-old Haldia.
The boom's in the way.
Haldia escaped to Jordan 3 years ago with her family and most of her village after the area suffered heavy bombardment.
كويس إنهم حكوا عن الشتاء عن إنه في كثير لأنه حالات اختناق بتصير بسبب الدفاية فكويس إنهم وعوا العالم هذا الإشي نقطة مهمة.
Since arriving here in Zaatari, she's been volunteering for the camp's own magazine, The Road.
What do your parents and what do your neighbours think about what you're doing?
لما صرت أشتغل وأعمل وأنجز أمي انبسطت. واجه مشكلة إنه الجيران اللي عندنا بالحي إنه مو مبسوطين من شغلي بيحسوا إنه أني بعصي أوامر أهلي أو إنه بغير عاداتنا وتقاليدنا بس أنا بحاول أقنعهم بأسلوبي إنه دور أهالينا والمجتمع اللي كان على دور أهالينا والتطور غير عن تطور هسه العالم تقدم صار في تطورات صار في يعني عالمنا غير عالم أهالينا فإحنا بدنا نقنعهم هذا الإشي. يغسل غسلها يغسلها تعال غسلها خوات تحب النامونة.
Despite her progressive attitudes, Haldia still fulfills her traditional responsibilities.
This is
Shahad. Hey, Anita Farouk.
Pleased to meet you, Farouk. How are you? And who's this one?
أحمد. أحمد كثير مشاكس بس أنا بحبه عشان مشاكس.
As the eldest daughter, she dropped out of school at 16 to look after her 7 younger siblings.
Come on, in we go.
So that her mother can earn some money on a cash for work scheme in camp.
Oh my goodness, look at that. How can I refuse? Thank you. Is it hard work? Because you're pursuing your own goals, you want to become a journalist, but at the same time you've got the responsibility of all these brothers and sisters.
بنسى التعب الجسدي لما أكون أشوف أخواتي مبسوطين وعائلتي مبسوطة. بصراحة لأنه أخواتي ما بيعيشوا طفولة كثير تمام، بس المهم إنه أخواتي يطلعوا تمام مثل ما بدي أو مثل ما بدهم هم.
Most 18-year-olds in Britain don't have to think about anyone but themselves, and here you are, and you have to think about everybody before yourself. And what are your hopes?
وأحلامي اللي هي إني أكون صانعة أفلام كثير كبيرة وإني أسافر أركب بالطيارة.
How long do you think it will take before attitudes really change and young girls are able to pursue their dreams?
راح يستغرق وقت طويل شوي. نحن حوارنا مو متحضرين زيادة بصراحة. وش بدنا نقنع البنت إذا هي موافقة إنه تتحضر. مو صعب إنه نحن نوعي الأهالي لأنه كل إنسان يعني بيقدر يكون عنده قابل للتغيير إذا نحن أقنعنا وأسلوبنا كان كويس.
It's amazing. What you're doing is incredible.
Soon Haldia may have an opportunity to speak out on the issues that matter to her.
There's the girl. You can see how bright her eyes are from here.
A new magazine, especially targeted at the women in camp, is being launched.
أنا خالدية. شو أخبارك؟
And Haldia's on a mission to shoot the perfect photograph.
Hair and makeup sorted.
In the hope it will be selected for the all-important front cover.
لا هي.
Yeah, really beautiful.
جميلة. شوفي حلوة؟
As this metropolis beds into the desert, it's crucial that it has an infrastructure that's fit for the long term.
It's all happening. Oh, it's on the move.
I'm meeting one of the refugees who earns a small wage building something that we take for granted, but is one of the most basic requirements in any developed city, an underground sewage system.
Pleased to meet you. You Fadi?
Welcome.
Anita. Are those for me? Thank you very much. Fadi, what's happening here?
احنا هسه عم ننزل خزان 8 متر مكعب مشان نخدم 9 بيوت 9 عائلات على شبكة الصرف الصحي لأنه هم هسه حاليا موجودين على حفر.
So 9 households are going to be serviced by that septic tank?
Yes.
What were people doing before this system was installed?
كانت الناس تعتمد على حالها إنه تحفر على الإيد جورة ويسبب أمراض وذباب وحشرات وروائح كرهة.
So would you have dug your own?
طبعاً بما أني لاجئ ومثل الناس اللي ساكنين بالمخيم إنه بإيدي وأنا تعبت وحفرت حفرتين.
When camp was first established, the authorities built toilet and wash blocks that were shared by up to 200 refugees.
Why are all the people living here digging their own? Because communal toilets were provided.
في حمامات عامة يعني ما بتحلش مشكلة حمامات عامة بجوز إنه حدا بيعتاز بده يروح الحمام بالليل وما فيش كان أضوية والمرأة كمان بدها تغسل بالبيت.
So the new system is gratefully received. It's needed, desperately needed. So this is someone's house, and this is the cesspit that they dug themselves.
هي بتكون مغطية بشيء بسيط مثل الشادر. This.
Just that.
بس مع الزمن إنه بروح الشادر بظل الحفرة مفتوحة.
Oh wow. Oh gosh, that one's open. You can see it's very dangerous.
والسنة الماضية بنتي صغيرة كانت طالعة عم تلعب اجت وقعت بالحفرة ومرضت وظليتني شهر أروح وآجي فيها على المشافي. لا الحمد لله إنه بنتي بعد شهر تعافت ومشي حالها، بس المشكلة مش إنه بس مشكلة بنتي إنه كل أطفال المخيم.
And look, there's no lights here, no street lights. So if you're walking along at night, you could easily fall into one of these pits. No wonder you're having so many accidents. You can see that this is a public health disaster because just sewage and wastewater just sitting here stagnant, and this is terrible. Shall we go and have a look at what you're fitting?
Yes.
Are all these workers Syrian?
Unskilled Syrian.
From Zaatari?
هم موجودين بالمخيم وبيشتغلوا معنا.
Lead the way, lead the way.
بس أحكي لك شوي.
Yeah, can we go in? Can we get closer? Thank you.
تسكر طريق ونحدد عن طريق جهاز GPS مساح بيجي بيحدد لنا إياه ونحط مشان أعماق الحفر.
We've got the tools, this is happening, there's a proper system going in.
بس خلينا بعد شوي مشان ينزلوا.
Okay. Oh my God, the electricity pylons. Get the wires out of the way. Number 500. And it goes.
Over 2,500 of these 14-ton tanks will be buried below ground.
Watch out, everybody. Back off if you don't want to get wet.
And I'm helping make sure number 500 settles nicely into place.
Am I doing a good job, Fadi? Is that good? Is it done? Kalas? Thank you, Fadi. Good luck. Good luck with the rest of it. Lovely to meet you. Good luck with the rest of the project.
By the time this 7-month-long underground sewage system is completed, thousands of new septic tanks will be connected up to every single home in camp, using 150 kilometres of waste pipe, bringing Za'atari's infrastructure in line with any other established city.
How long have you been in Zaatari for?
About 3 years.
Ben is with 25-year-old Mufleh, who was an English literature student back in Syria.
And who are your favourite writers then?
Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe.
Yeah, good choice, man.
It's very difficult for refugees to get permits to work outside the camp. But like many of the residents, Mufleh can earn a nominal wage from one of the charities here in Zaatari.
We will turn to the street where Miriam lives.
We go here.
His job in camp is to assess those who need help in building their own private toilet facilities. First on Mufleh's list today is 60-year-old Mariam.
لحالك هون أولادك أهلك وينهم؟
ما عندي حدا بنوب اللي هاي السنة الرابعة والله
هاي كل الجيل يسألني كل الجيل.
ونفس المكان ما تغيرتي؟
نفس المكان.
كرفانتك جوا شلون الوضع فيها؟
إيه
شلون الامور؟
تفضلي
شوفوا اذا
تفضلي
في مجال.
تفضلي.
It's a styrofoam bed and a single gas canister for all her heating, her cooking.
نتصل على العيلة قبل ما نيجي عليها.
حياك الله.
She's hardcore. The muffler's just taking a few notes and trying to assess her case.
حجة ما عندك هون هاي ما عندك هون الحمام بس الكرفانة؟
ما لا والله ما عندي حالة ما عندي والله
نعم.
حالة.
نعم.
هاي حطوا لي هنا.
It's a hole in the ground.
Yeah, just the bite. It is difficult for her to use this
عليها
because
جلادي.
she see rats here in this place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no lighting here at night. It's dark. It's not safe. There's no privacy and there's no dignity either. There is zero dignity in the situation. And yet she has this incredible smile the whole time.
هي تطلع على أبرية بعد أمرية حبيب قلبي قاسم وعلي والله قاسم وعلي وعلي.
She said we are like your sons. Like
قاسم وعلي. قاسم وعلي.
قاسم and Ali.
يا حبيب قلبي يا بعد أمرية.
Because she missed them a lot.
Of course.
Three more than 3 years without seeing her sons or her daughters.
يا ميت أهلا وسهلا تفضلي يا خال.
تاخذ من وقتك شغلة ربع ساعة. تحكي معهم صح لأولادك؟
إيه الحمد لله بحكي والله يا خالة.
Are they safe?
في كلهم بسوريا ولا؟
لا واحد راح على تركيا يا هرب على تركيا.
Some of them in Turkey.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. This is proof of registration card of Mariam.
Muffler must now go through the charity's official checklist to determine if Mariam will be fast-tracked for bathroom facilities.
قديش عمرك حجة؟
60 يا خالة. ما شفتي الهوية؟
هي موجودة عندي العمر.
And by being a 60-year-old female, Mariam will then jump the queue.
Yeah, because she lives alone without any sons, without any help.
Any support whatsoever.
Yeah, any support. Yeah. الحمام اللي بتستخدميه بتفضلي يكون عربي ولا أجنبي؟ يعني يكون فرنجي ولا عربي؟ يعني بتقدر تستخدمي البطة العربية فرنجي.
فرنجي يعني
بدك كرسي يكون فرنجي للحمام.
نعم. والله صعب ايه والله ما بقدر.
صعب عليك مشان رجليك.
ايه والله يعني صعب.
انت ما عندك حالة عجز الحمد لله
لا
يعني ما في
لا الحمد لله. الحمد لله يا رب. الحمد لله رب العالمين اشكر الله يا رب الحمد لله.
Now she meets the criteria. Hopefully Mariam won't have to wait much longer for her loo facilities.
ممتاز اوكي. هذه المجله مجلتكم عشان هيك مبسوطين تعبكم. اوكي شو عندك خالديه؟
كويس انه كتبوا عن الكشف المبكر لسرطان الثدي، كتبوا انه شلون هي ممكن تقي حالها انها تنصاب بهذا المرض.
It's a very important day for Chaldea. The first ever issue of the camp's women's only magazine has been published and it's coming out today. Big day. And Hada, the Jordanian professional newspaper editor who runs the magazine project, has chosen Haldea's photo for the front cover of the launch publication.
صبايا بدي تعرفوا انه اللي صورت الغلاف هي خالديه، شكرا كثير لها وبدنا نزقف لها لانه الصوره.
And she's made another important decision about the future of the magazine.
هلا خالديه بدها تحكي معاكم عن موضوع العدد القادم.
Haldea has been promoted to deputy editor, and her first task as Hada's right-hand woman is to give her team some critical feedback.
هي صح ما معها جوزها، بس هي شو عم تعمل إن هي قوية قد حالها. هاي فكرة حلوة اللي أنت بتقوليها، بس نحن كتبنا منها فقرة بتقدري أنت تزيدي لها إذا بدك. يعني إذا أنت عندك أفكار نحن بدنا أفكاركم، كلكم أفكاركم بتهم.
Khaldia was the only one I can think to be in charge with the magazine. She knows now how to talk with the team, she knows how to do interviews, how to take pictures, and she has the charisma to go and present herself among other women, and she's doing well.
Chaldea, look at this. Yasmin, World Refugees magazine, first edition. You're the deputy editor. How proud do you feel holding that in your hand?
فشعوري بالفعل مش عارفة شلون أوصف شعوري. كثير مبسوطة، أكثر شيء مبسوطة إنه البنات عم يقبلوا حتى إنهم ينضموا لفريق المرأة. النساء الموجودات في المخيم بيحسوا إنه هم بس انخلقوا حتى يتعبوا ويشقوا ويشتغلوا، ما لهم أي قيمة. فلما يشوفوا مجلة صدرت بس بخصوصي إلهم أكيد رح ينبسطوا، أكيد يعني شوي حتحسن من نفسيتهم. أنا هذا هيك بعتقد.
It seems to me that this is quite a radical thing to happen in this camp, and it's a very conservative community. Are you worried about the backlash that some people might think that this is a negative thing to happen?
نحن موجودات هون، يعني فريق مجلة المرأة موجودات مشان نغير في المخيم للأفضل. يعني صح رح نواجه صعوبات، بس نحن مش إذا واجهتنا صعوبة إنه خلص نستسلم، لا، نحن موجودات حتى نغير للأفضل.
I think this is brilliant. It's your time now, Haldea. Meeting Chaldea has been an inspiration, but what makes her unique is the fact that she doesn't have other role models. It's not like there are lots of Chaldeas around her. She is one who stood up and put her head above the parapet and thought, you know what, I don't like what I'm seeing and I'm going to make a difference and I'm going to change it. And she is only 18 years and 3 months old.
فرصة سعيدة تعرفت عليك.
Go and change the world. Good luck.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
شوف يوم وين بيلاقوا مكان مناسب عادي.
It's 6 days since Ben first met 60-year-old Mariam, and he's back.
هي الحمام وصل.
الله يرضى عليك، الله يرضى عليك، الله يحقق في بالك والله ييسر امرك بجاه نبينا محمد كلياتكم. الله ييسر امورك يا رب.
Mufla's 10-person team of Syrian workers is installing her new bathroom today.
How long does it take to put one of these in? They're moving so quickly.
1 hour.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, they are fast team.
They're incredibly quick. Everyone has got like their own job that they're doing at the same time. It's a kind of a health and safety nightmare, but it seems to work.
And in a matter of hours, this crack team have managed to plumb in a fully working toilet cubicle, complete with tiled floor.
والله بدنا نحزونا.
I think it's pretty good, yeah?
والله يبارك فيك يا حبيبي، الله يبارك فيكم كلياتكم، الله يبارك فيكم كلياتكم. الله يبارك فيكم كلياتكم.
It's clear that it's much more than just a loo. It's not merely a matter of sanitation or health. It's all of those things. But actually, to Miriam, it's about self-respect and it's about dignity. And also, as you can tell from her reaction, it's the fact that someone actually gives a damn.
اي والله الحمد لله، والله في شوفكم مبسوطة، والله العظيم، والله في شوفكم مبسوطة. عن جد يعني مش مزح.
Take care. Thank you so much.
باي حجة.
I can see why you love your job so much.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
The camp's wrestling tournament is 9 days away. But Bassam, young Mohammed's best friend, won't be able to take part.
أشتاق لأصحابه للمصارعة، محمد وبدر وعمر وحسن وخالد، والأستاذ محمد راح أشتاق له كثير.
Bassam's father Khalid has decided to make the risky journey back to Syria, taking Bassam and the rest of the family with him. Like most people in Za'atari, he still has close relatives living back in Syria from whom he's been long separated.
عندي الوالدة مرضانة وصل لي هاي السنة الرابعة هون، يعني وحاب إني أشوف أهلي. في حزن أصدقائه، يعني واحد أخذ عشرة معهم وتدرب معهم هنا، وفي حزن شيء أكيد، يعني حاسس إنه بعيون في حزن.
إذا كنت بالبطولة الجاي كان أنا راح أفوز فيه، وكنت أروح سوريا فيهم مشان أخبيهم غاء وأقول إنه ربحت بالمخيم.
Despite Syria still being in the midst of a brutal war, a few hundred people leave Zaatari each month to return to their homeland. For some, like Khalid, the pull of loved ones is too strong. The camp authorities can't prevent them from leaving, but do warn that a return to Jordan is practically impossible. And by returning to Syria, they're waving goodbye to Zaatari for good. best friend Mohammed has come to say his goodbyes.
تعال السيارة زي عن السيارة.
But going back to Syria isn't the only option for people here in Zaatari.
تاكل بكندا بوزة؟ شو بدك تروح على كندا؟
31-year-old Abdul Tariq and his family are one of the several hundred residents in Zaatari who have been chosen by the UNHCR to apply for resettlement in Canada. He's not guaranteed a place, but he's been doing his research just in case.
استقبال اللاجئين يعني كان استقبال كثير ممتاز. هاي الصورة وكمان بحثت عن يعني أكل الحلال فلقيت هاي الصور عن الأكل إنه في لحم في دجاج في أكل حلال بحثت لقيت موجود في كندا. وهاي صديقي بعث لي الصور بالطيارة.
When it comes to choosing families to go through the selection process, UNHCR take many factors into account, but one of the most important is medical need. Dr. Javid has come to meet Abu Tariq.
Abu Tariq.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Javid. So you were called by the camp authorities. Why do you think you were chosen?
يعني لولا الإصابة ما بعتقد إنه يهيئوا ملفي للسفر. بداية بسوريا اجت قذيفة على المنزل وتم يعني قذيفة كسر فخذي اليمين والأيسر وجيت بعدها على سوريا من سوريا على الأردن مباشرة.
You're walking quite well now. Was it a really long recovery?
العلاج كان صعب بس في تحسن. وإن شاء الله إذا يعني سافرت على كندا لسه في علاج بعد.
Do you have any nerves about the process itself, Abu Tariq?
يعني أنا مستني التلفون كل لحظة يعني كل ما يرن التلفون بفكر مكتب الهجرة. توتر والله متوتر كثير يعني.
Abu Tariq has options but no control over those options. So he doesn't really have a choice about what's going to happen to him and his family. And those options are not small things, they're enormous. You know, either he stays here or he ends up in a country where he's never been with his whole family, doesn't even speak the language. I certainly don't envy his position. So big respect for him.
Like Abu Tariq, all refugees are at the mercy of the international community's response.
Canada.
In September 2015, many attitudes changed when images of drowned toddler Alan Kurdi washed up on a Mediterranean beach hit the headlines. The world was shocked into action, and many countries made pledges to open their doors to more refugees. But for the 5 million Syrians fleeing the war, only 180,000 places have been made available. And the application process is slow. So far, Germany leads the way with over 40,000 official resettlements. Canada is next with 26,000, whilst the UK has processed 1,000 of its 20,000 pledges. At a time when rehoming refugees is a political minefield, it's Syria's neighbours who are hosting the bulk of this displaced population. with 250,000 in Jordan alone. And today in Zaatari, the residents have come out in their droves to take part in a one-off march to express their thanks to the country's king for his hospitality.
So they're chanting, giving the King of Jordan blessings. They're obviously really passionate about their message.
They're hoping for about 20,000 people, which would be approximately a quarter of the population of the city. I mean, in the UK, ordinarily, if they're going to protest like this, it's usually a big crowd of people angry about something, protesting against something. Unlike this, which is a big march of thanks.
I'm feeling a bit emotional just being here. It's their only way of expressing anything. You know, these people who are away from their homeland and they just want to tell the people who have taken them in, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It's a very powerful, powerful feeling in the air. You know, having been here a while and gone into people's homes and talked to them and looked them in the eyes, they're just good, ordinary people whose country is a complete mess. And they have no say and no power in what's going on, and they just want to go home.
The day of the wrestling tournament has finally arrived, and it's a full house.
Wow, this is brilliant. I'm really looking forward to this.
تمام الكل متحمس لليوم للبطولة وكل بيكون يعني هذا بدها تكون هسه حصاد 4 شهور تدريبية فبتكون من خلال البطولة اللي بنعمل لهم إياها. تحقيق حلمه كبطل فاليوم راح يشوف حاله بطل عندنا من خلال المباريات اللي راح نشوفها.
Excellent. Despite his fighting partner and best friend Bassam having returned to Syria, Mohammed is as determined as ever to do well.
إن شاء الله راح أفوز وأطلع إن شاء الله مركز أول وراح أشد كل حيلي مشان أخذ كأس.
سلم فرجنا ظافرك.
Even the small ones are just these little packets of energy. It's so loud in here. It's like being in the middle of Wembley Stadium. It's so fast. I don't understand how they're not snapping each other's necks. It can be quite brutal. Mohammed is stepping into the ring right now. And he's really getting stuck in there. Come on! Come on! Jeez. This is vicious.
There are 3 medals up for grabs in each of the age categories, as well as 2 overall trophies for the entire tournament, Best Wrestler and Most Committed Player.
If you look around right now, you see that every single kid in this tent is hanging on Coach Mohammed's every single word. They worship the guy, absolutely worship him. And you can see his sense of just pride with all these little kids who, you know, whose lives he's changed. And it's an amazing bond of trust there that he's got with these guys. It's incredible. Here he goes. Yay! He's just absolutely beaming at the moment. Brilliant. That was brilliant. Well done, my friend. Can I have a look? That is fantastic. The medal here, and then the ear-to-ear smile right there. Yep. He can't stop laughing. Well done, dude.
And now it's time for the 2 big prizes to be presented.
وكاس أفضل لاعب لعدي زياد ياسين. يلا حبيبي ما عليه انت بطل ما عليه بطل انت بطل.
But the next winner isn't here to collect his prize.
الكاس اللي راح يكون لأكثر لاعب ملتزم عندنا هو لبسام الإبراهيم، الله يذكره بالخير، صار بسوريا وهو بطل. طلع عندنا 3 بطولات قبل هاي المرة والكل بتعرفوه لبسام، فبتمنى الكل يصفق لبسام بسوريا.
Mohammed may not have won one of the top prizes, but he's keen to tell best friend Bassam about his trophy win.
مرحبا بسام. بدي اقول لك انه الاستاذ اليوم جاب كاسين، خلى كاس وميداليه مركز ثالث الك. يعني الكاس عندك؟ ايه خليت لك اياه عندي، بس اروح بجيب لك اياه. سلام. يلا سهلا.
Good news delivered. Mohammed's dad wants to hear how things are back home.
والله الحمد لله رب العالمين، مستورة ماشي الحال. والله اليوم ما عندنا الطيران هذول يلا بس ان شاء الله هديت الامور فيها بالمفاوضات، بيقولوا بل ان شاء الله من الاسبوع وقف اطلاق النار. ان شاء الله انا بتمنى الواحد والله العظيم اذا بطل الجبل بطل يعني شغله بجبل. وشكرا لكم حالكم، خليكم بعيدين انتم عن هذا المكان الخصوصي. والله ارجونا يعني شو بدنا نسوي؟ عاد بقول لو اجلت شي شهر شهرين بلكي نشوف المفاوضات، بلكي الله صار وقف اطلاق نار وكذا. والله تعبان عايشين على اعصابهم والله هناك. اي والله هناك عايش برعب. انا بالنسبه لي ماني مروح اذا ما هديت الامور. اذا ما هديت الامور هناك ماني مروح، اقعد برعب هناك اعيش برعب.
With the situation in Syria remaining unstable, the next generation is being born far away from their homeland.
فجهزت أول بأول، يعني مو كله إنه جبته دفعة واحدة، أول بأول.
Like many Syrian women, 31-year-old mum of 4, Mariam, is preparing to give birth in a refugee camp.
فكله مصفط يعني ومرتب.
But it's not the only thing that makes this pregnancy unusual.
تقريباً على الشهرين عرفت إنه في توأم. هو أول إشي انصدمت أنا يعني، وبعدين مثل اللي صابتني من الصدمة صرت أضحك يعني فرحانة بنفس الوقت. بتعرفي يعني صعب إنه توأم، وفي يعني أنا معي عيلة من الأول شاطرة عشان كرة تساعديني نلبسهم ونحممهم. يوم كنا بسوريا غسالة موجودة، مجلة، حنفية، خزان مي نظيفة، كل شيء نظيف حواليك. شاطرة. فأول ما اجينا حياة صعبة يعني، هون يعني مثل ما تقولي ملوث، شيء مش طبيعي يعني. يوم بتلاقيهم هيك منظرهم بيلعبوا، منظرهم بتشتكوا بيهم أحيانا. البنت ولا الولد وضع ما عادش إنه ينطاق بسوريا. بتشوفي قدامك سبحان الله دم، خوف أولادك لما بتعبطوك وبيقعدوا يبكوا، أنت مش قادرة تعملي لهم إشي. يعني هذا أصعب شعور. هون على المقلية صرنا نحط روسنا وننام تالي الليل، ما فيش إنه في إشي هيك جاي يخوفهم.
Mariam's due date is just 2 weeks away. She's keen to have a natural birth so she can deliver in the camp's maternity unit and avoid being transferred to a hospital in another city miles away from her family.
طبعاً الحمد لله راس البيبي لتحت، هذا معناته مبدئياً إلى الآن ولادتك تكون طبيعية. إذا كان طبعاً البيبي الأولاني راسه لتحت إن شاء الله ما رح نواجه أي مشكلة فيها، بس المشكلة الثانية إنه ممكن البيبي الأولاني إنه ديليفرد والأول الفيرست، أما الثاني ممكن نلاقي صعوبة بولادته، يعني ممكن إنه لا سمح الله يرجع إنه يسكر عنق الرحم، ياخد وقت أطول في وقت الولادة. فهذا الإشي رح يخلينا ننظر إنه إحنا ممكن نحوله لولادة قيصرية، وبتراجعينا إن شاء الله بعد أسبوع زي ما أنا قلت لك.
ماشي دكتورة، يعطيك العافية.
الله معك.
شوف أخذينا.
أهلا وسهلا.
يعطيك العافية. يعني طمنتني، كان قبل ما أفوت لعندها كنت متوترة شوية على وضعهم يعني، بس الحمد لله الأمور جيدة.
For Mariam, it's now just a matter of time before she can welcome her babies to their new home in Zaatari. And she's not the only one playing the waiting game.
ازيك ابو طارق؟ How are you today? انت كويس؟ وانت؟ يلا سلمني كيف انت يا قرد انت؟
It's our last few days here, and Javid has come back to see how Abu Tariq is getting on with his plans for going to Canada.
You bought the suitcases?
Yes. خبرونا انه هناك برد كثير، صرنا نشتري ملابس شتوية ونضب.
How long have you been so ready as this?
تقريبا من شي شهر ونص شهرين. كل يوم بيحكوا لي انه احنا بدنا نسافر ما بدنا نسافر. يعني سفرتي كلها مشان مهند وطارق ومالك وبلقيس، يعني مشان مستقبلهم. يعني كل سفر هم فكروا انه انا اللي معطل السفره. بس لا، ما يعني لساتهم صغار ما بيعرفوا.
So do you think that waiting is still hopeful?
اللي كانوا معي بنفس المقابله سافروا يعني.
Gosh, so others in your group have gone already and you're still waiting. That must be really hard.
ما يعطونا نتيجه، لا ايه لا لا، يعني ما في حل، ما بعرف. فقدت الامل، طبعا فقدت الامل. يعني ما بعرف. تعبت. ما في امل.
I guess Abu Tariq and his family are an example of many families here who are just in limbo, waiting to go home to Syria or waiting to know whether they can put roots down. He's living a suspended life because he's packed up everything and he's just waiting. After all, others have felt that they're putting roots down here, although it's not home. And almost for him, a no would be just as good an answer as a yes, so he can get on with rebuilding his life wherever it may be.
A week and a half before her due date, and 31-year-old Mariam has gone into labour with twins at Zaatari's maternity hospital.
حسيت في مغص يعني كأي مرة، فانجبرت يعني بدي آجي ما بقدرش، بدي بطمنوني عن وضع البيبيات وبقولوا لي وضعي كويس كثير.
11 babies are born in Zaatari every single day, and the hospital is about to reach an important milestone.
احنا هون بنشتغل 5 أطباء، يعني في اليوم بنولد 10 أو 14 ولادة. قريبا راح إن شاء الله إنه نصل رقم 5000. هاي راسه هون. الأطفال ما يحطوا بسهولة، مش المشكلة، بس أنت شد 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 يلا شد شد يلا يلا شد شد يلا. أنا هسه مستني أنت لما شد يلا شد يلا شدي كملي يلا يلا كمان أبدع يلا شدي شدي كمل يلا ممتازة يلا كمان نفس
2 كيلو 200 غرام.
ما شديش
هي ما شاء الله عليه منيح ونشيط، اكتب فريق اكتب.
يلا خلص.
الحمد لله عندك يا الله، يا رب تفرجها على جميع أمة محمد، يا رب تفرجها على جميع أمة محمد. الله يقويك يا دكتور.
الطفل الثاني طبعا
لا
اول طفل ولد فيميل 2 كيلو 300 2 كيلو 300 غرام.
الحظ الكويس كان انه اجوا 2 يعني جايين بالرؤوس، هذا يعني سهل عمليه الولاده عندها. الان ست مريم كمان اجاها طفل وطفله وراح يزاد على العدد النهائي. راح نحتفل بالرقم 5000 المولود في مخيم الزعتري.
Mariam, what's your dream for your children?
يعني حياة غير حياة المخيم، نكون راجعين على بلدنا، يكون مستقبل زاهر لهم إن شاء الله.
This place is remarkable and unique, and I'm left with a very bittersweet feeling about it. On the one hand, I'm amazed by the huge infrastructure projects, the water, the sewage, the food distribution, and of course people, whilst they're here, should be able to live with dignity. But it also spells out permanence. The one thing they all want is to go home. They want to be able to bring up their children freely in Syria with a future, and here that future is uncertain. But also, they've blown me away. Their resilience, their spirits, their humanity, all of that has made this place thrive. And because of the people and because of their situation, it is what it is. And Zaatari has become their home.